So a sheriff decided to partner with ICE. They're going to fight crime together. He got voted out immediately. Put him up full mass. He's unemployed. Pennsylvania sheriff who struck a deal with ICE has been voted out. Fred Harran, Philadelphia area sheriff, was voted out last week. He faced criticism from his opponent and from groups that cared about the rights of people over a partnership that he decided to forge with ICE. What does the agreement entail? So, good old sheriff here, the Republican sheriff, Bucks County, signed up in April for the United States Immigration and Customs Enforcement 287 program, which delegates some federal immigration responsibilities to local law enforcement departments. Under the agreement, some Bucks County deputies can, quote, enforce limited immigration authority while performing routine police duties, such as identifying and, as they say, an alien. There are no aliens on the planet. At a DUI checkpoint and sharing information directly with ICE. That's according to an ICE webpage describing the program. So you get to do their job, not get paid for it. Neglect doing the job that you are elected to do, sworn to do, and you believe your community is winning or you're winning because you're an elected sheriff, but you work for ICE. There's more. Out of the 3 models, the sheriff chose the one that grants the most authority to the local deputies. Hundreds of local law enforcement agencies across the country, including 5 other Pennsylvania sheriffs, their offices have chosen to participate in that model. It's called the task force model. The other models allow local agencies to deal only with suspected undocumented immigrants already in custody or facing criminal charges. 17 law enforcement officers in Bucks County received ICE training as part of the agreement, according to the sheriff. So the agreement drew the outrage of this guy. There's a new sheriff in town. Drew the outrage of Sheriff-elect Danny Kelsler, 33 years of age, young guy, Army veteran, and attorney at law, who worked for a time as a public safety official in Governor Shapiro's administration. So the sheriff-elect led the issues page of his campaign website with an argument against the sheriff and his ICE partnership, calling it, quote, a political stunt that wastes resources, erodes trust, puts our communities at greater risk. In an interview with ABC News, he called it, quote, the biggest issue in the race with or without me. So I want to make sure everybody is clear. This sheriff did not lose because he was already going to lose. It is difficult to beat an incumbent sheriff of any jurisdiction. It is tough. Not only was he beat, he basically beat himself. There's more. Quote, I think people understood, and I tried to make the case, that this was a race being watched by law enforcement all over the country because this was the swing district in the swing state. And this was the first referendum on not only ICE, but specifically local law enforcement partnering with ICE. The sheriff-elect said. He added, quote, elected sheriffs all over the country we're going to see. Did the guy who backed ICE and went out on a limb for Trump win re-election because of it or lose re-election because of it. So I felt the stakes of the race, and I felt tremendous responsibility to run an effective campaign and win, to send a message to the sheriffs all over the country that this is a bad idea. He ran on a purpose, a point. He had a play, a model, stuck to the issues, was polarizing intentionally, made the contrast argument, not the we can all get along argument, said he's wrong, I'm right. This is bad. This is good. This is good policy. This is bad policy. You polarize intentionally. You make the argument to show the contrast. And he did. He won, 33 years of age. Sheriff-elect told ABC News he will impose a moratorium on the agreement on his first day in office and seek formally withdraw from that agreement within his first 6 weeks. He was aided on the trail by local rights groups like the American Civil Liberties Union of Pennsylvania, which filed a lawsuit against the sheriff in June, accusing the then sheriff of entering into the 287 agreement unlawfully. Last month, a court common pleas judge dismissed the suit, writing that the agreement was clearly lawful. In an interview with ABC News, the sheriff, who's about to be the ex-sheriff, said he never intended to use the full scope of the powers the task force model gave him and had not directed his deputies to perform random immigration enforcement. Well, sir, why didn't you just pick door number one then? They gave you 3 options here. You picked door number 3. That's on you. Now you're talking about what your intentions were. Well, sir, if you're not smart enough to pick the thing that you intend to, the right person is taking your job. Anyway, there's more. When posed the question, why didn't he choose a less aggressive enforcement model? Sheriff said, quote, felt like the task force model was able to be massaged into what I wanted to do. Well, the others were not. He lost by 25,000 votes, on par with other countywide Republicans. The man just said, anyway, he's leaving. So he's talking out of both sides of his mouth, saying, no, I didn't mean to do it like that. That's not what I really meant. Then saying, well, I really meant to do it like that because that's the way I wanted to work it. Yasmin thought.
Good riddance
Yeah.
to him and others like him. And look, I don't want to get too excited or too optimistic or too far ahead of things, but I am liking the trends that I'm seeing across this country. The American people are not only saying that they don't support the actions of this government, and that includes at the local, city and county levels, but they're taking action against all of it. Right. There's a reason why the only Democrats who voted with Republicans to open the government without really getting any kind of concessions in exchange for it were Democrats who are not up for reelection in 2026, because for better or for worse, better late than never. But the Democrats at least have realized that the American people are voting against they're ready to vote people out of office. They're tired of what they're seeing. They're tired of the inaction. They're tired of all just the stagnation in our government, not even just stagnation, but regression in our government. And they're tired of voting people in who do not fight for them, will not fight for them, cannot fight for them. So voters now are also much more informed than before, and they are demonstrating where their boundaries are, what they're willing and unwilling to tolerate, especially in their immediate communities. And I hope this serves as a message to other local leaders who are seeking to align themselves and their offices with the absolute worst that this administration has to offer to the American people. Here in Houston, our mayor is a Democrat, but he has very much a right wing platform. He can't seem to decide. or admit that the Houston Police Department is actually cooperating with ICE. He insisted for months that they were not. And then finally, he kind of admitted it a few days ago. And then, like 2 days ago, he walked those statements back. But it's like, we know what's going on. We've also got Nancy Pelosi, who is no longer seeking reelection. I would normally assume that her reasons for dropping out had something to do with her age, but she is being primaried by a much more progressive Democrat in her district. And the question is, can she win that race, even though she is very much the incumbent? She's been representing the people of San Francisco for longer than I have actually been alive. And we're also seeing over in New York, first of all, obviously Zoran Mamdani, he just won the mayoral race in New York City, but we're also seeing Chuck Schumer facing calls to step down and resign because he does not fight for the American people the way that we need him to. And if he doesn't resign on his own, there is a very real threat that the much more progressive candidate, that Alexandra Ocasio-Cortez, is going to primary him. And can he win that primary? We're not so sure. And we are seeing that these candidates who don't actually stand up for or represent their constituents, are getting voted out. They're not getting the donations that they used to. They are being challenged by members of their own party. And I love to see it.
Yeah. And people who would have never considered to run for office
Hmm.
are running and winning. And I hope somebody who sees this segment, I hope you take that light that was just given. All right. It's your time. We are the leaders we've been looking for.